Hi, everyone. Welcome to PopCultX, episode 17. My name is Gabriel,
Hey everyone, I'm Daniel.
and let's go ahead and get started.
Yeah, well, before we get started, as you can see, you can see us. We can't see you, but you can see us, and we're trying out something new. So, for this episode, we are going to be giving you a little glimpse behind the curtain into what makes our brains tick, so to speak. So, you're going to be seeing us as we talk, as we deliver you all of our pop culture references and news and topics and whatnot. You'll be able to find us. So if you're not already there on YouTube and you haven't subscribed, do it. If you're listening to this, go to youtube.com/popcultx or search for popcultx on YouTube, find us, subscribe, and watch us. You'll be tantalized, I think.
I just had like visions of reading comments of people telling us that we have a perfect face for podcast or for radio.
Isn't that thing? You have the perfect face for radio. Yes. Well, let's hope all the comments are positive. If not, well, hey, to each his own, I guess.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. But anything catch your eye this week, Gabe?
I was kind of going through like some of the stuff that was in pop culture news this week, considering that that's
Mm-hmm.
our gig that we talk about, music, movies, film, etc. There wasn't anything that really, I think this past week really caught my attention. But
Kind of a
I
slow week,
was,
yeah.
yeah, it's been kind of a slow week. There hasn't been anything that's like been super newsworthy. But I did get a chance to watch A Quiet Place 2 on Premiere Plus. I was really
Oh,
looking forward to
okay.
that movie. And so we
Yeah,
finally
yeah,
saw
for
it.
sure.
I have to say that I was like slightly disappointed, and without getting like really into the plot or like what happens in the movie, just my like main takeaway or what I felt about it was that it was really like almost unnecessary. I don't really feel like anything happened in the movie that was
So it was all
pushing the
forced.
plot forward. Yeah, I mean, I really like the characters. I love the actors. I love, I loved the first one. It was really creative. It was like I enjoyed it. And this one, it almost was like a rehash of the same thing where there was nothing, at least in
Um,
my opinion, there was nothing new about it. So I wouldn't rush out to go see it if you haven't seen it. I saw it for free on I already forgot what it's called,
Paramount,
Premiere, Paramount, Paramount.
Paramount, yeah.
Plus. So it was cool, like I guess to watch for free, but I'm kind of glad that I didn't go see it in the theaters because I would have been really disappointed.
Well, maybe it would have heightened it more because isn't that what John Krasinski really wanted? Was for people. That's why he delayed the releases. He really wanted people to see it in the theater. So,
I, I mean, not to be overly cynical, but I kind of feel like it was a cash grab, like that they did really well with the
ah,
first one, and they're like, we have to make a sequel, but they really didn't think about what they wanted to say or do in the sequel, and so
hmm
I mean, nothing really nothing happens character wise. It just like it unfolds, and then you're like, okay, well, I watched it, like that's it. Like
it's
it just
over.
yeah, like okay, well, that was whatever. But I really love Emily Blunt. They did film sort of like a
Yeah, she's
small
fantastic.
like prequel, kind of like where you see like the
hmm
first day when like the aliens or whatever monsters come. So that was kind of cool, and then, like that kind of made me excited. Like I was like, okay, cool. Like we're gonna see, you
Yeah,
know,
I saw that bit in like the trailer. Yeah, so I was excited for it too.
yeah. And but then after that, like it just kind of yeah. And there's a couple of moments there that are like I call them kind of like Steven Spielberg moments where like kids do things that are like incredibly stupid, because he loves to make people like little kid like young people do like things that are just like ridiculously stupid. Like a really great example of that is like the girl in the Jeep in Jurassic Park when she has like the flashlight and she's like just throw it like
hmm
it like okay, she's granted she's scared, she's a young person, but like she's not a freaking moron. Like she's like like and he kind of loves to like it's to build the suspense. I get it, but like
It's to move the
sometimes it's a
plot
little
forward. Yeah.
like it's a little much. Like maybe I have a little bit
Yeah.
more faith in the education of young people, but there was a couple moments like that in this that I was like, that kid's really stupid, and they don't have to be. But anyway, that's where my thoughts are on that movie.
All right, all right. Well, you said cash grab, and that made me laugh because I was said I wasn't going to talk about it, but I watched Space Jam 2: The New Legacy with
Oh, nice,
LeBron James, and it was a total cash grab. It seemed like it was a 2-hour commercial for Warner Brothers.
nice.
It was, I liked the first one because Michael Jordan, big sports fan that I am, and I liked all of its tie-ins to pop culture. But with this one, it seemed like there was characters in there that were just there to be there to like advertise for Warner Brothers Studios, which like in
Hmm.
a way it's I understand because it is Warner Brothers who
Yeah.
created this, but like why is the Penguin from Batman Returns on the sideline of the court during the basketball game? I don't know, but he was there. And but it was it was if you like the first one, you'll like the second one. I think it was what it was. I wasn't expecting too much out of it to begin with.
Yeah.
Um, but Don Cheadle, he was like the big bad villain, I guess you would call in this movie, and he had some liners that were pretty funny. So I enjoyed his take on the character that he portrayed. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't rush out to watch it. It was on HBO Max. Go
Yeah.
watch it there if you have a chance. Why not?
Yeah, I feel like I kind of want to watch it just because when it came to like cartoons when I was a kid, I was very much like more of a fan of like Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck than I
Hmm.
was Mickey
Hmm.
Mouse or Donald Duck. Like
Yeah.
those cartoons like just didn't appeal to me. It was more like the sarcastic Daffy Duck or like the Bugs Bunny being sort of like rascally and like kind of a smart ass. Like I just love like that was like
Uh-huh.
more
Uh-huh.
my style. So
Hmm.
I do love them. So I want to watch it for that. And then I'm kind of interested in like as you mentioned, they have sort of little cameos in the background of like these random Warner Brothers properties. And I've heard that there's some characters that are probably not the most child friendly ones, but like kids would never pick it up. But like it's like some known
Right.
from like some like crazy horror movie like The Devils or I don't know I don't think I've even seen it. And like some other A Clockwork Orange, like one of the characters from A Clockwork
Yeah.
Orange.
Yeah.
So like I love when there's sort of those hidden gems for adults to see that kids won't even notice. And
Hmm.
so I'm kind of
Hmm.
curious, like I'm gonna pause and like watch and see like who I can identify.
You know, I, I think that'd be really cool to go back and watch it and pause during the background scenes and seeing how many characters we can point out. That'd
Yeah,
be really fun. Yeah. If anyone watches it out there, just leave us a message. Let us know what characters you saw, who you've seen in Space Jam 2. That way we can go back and look for them.
yeah, that's really cool. I'll probably go check it out just for that.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
Other than that, uh, the thing that's coming out this Friday, July 23rd, is Ted Lasso season 2. Now, as we've talked about before, we're both really big fans of the show, but part of me is getting a little stressed out for reasons that I can't really put my finger on because I want the show to be so successful because everyone I tell about it, I really hype it up and I really, because it is such a great show. Season 1 was fantastic,
Yeah.
but I'm afraid that season 2 won't live up to that hype. But I know, and it like I tweeted out the other day, and I think Bill Lawrence, one of the co-creators of the show, answered. He said it couldn't possibly and live up to it, to season 1 hype. Season 2 could not possibly live up to the hype that was generated by season 1. So just accept that and move forward.
Yeah.
And he got a point.
Yeah, I could see that. But I mean, at least for me personally, I came into watching season one with like zero expectations. And the fact that
Hmm.
like it unraveled to be like one of the standouts of like recent history of like one, some of my favorite shows. And so,
Hmm.
going into season two, I am looking forward to more of the same, like same style of humor, same character development, some of the same, the same
Yeah.
character art. But um like I guess I'm not worried because like they did such a good job that I don't think it was a fluke that they understand their characters enough that
Yeah,
they're
you're
gonna
right.
bring him back in a good way. And I think of, like, another show
Mhm,
like, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, where, like, the first one, like, it's so good and you're like, "Oh, where are they gonna go with this?" And they successfully have, like, had a couple seasons now under their belt where it's like they've kept that bar
mhm,
really high.
mhm.
And unlike, like,
Yeah,
maybe America Horror Story, where it's, like, kinda rises and falls and
hit and
yeah,
miss.
it's, like, hit or miss. So, like, I think that the writing is so good that, like, I'm pretty confident it's gonna be a good 2nd season. So I'm, like, really excited. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I'm really excited for it, and I tell everyone I know, "Go watch it, go watch it, go watch it, go watch it." So I'm totally team Ted Lasso, and I can't wait for it. I mean, Jason Sudeikis plays a character that we all can rally around, and I think he brings that home so well and so endearing to all of us.
Yeah.
And you're right about Mrs. Maisel, because I just started season 3, and it has not dropped one beat from when the first
It's so
episode of
good.
season
It's so
one.
good.
It is such a fantastic show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is so hilarious, and it keeps getting better and better, and you want to see where they're going with it. So I guess I should just look at it that way and see the success of that show and say, you know what, they know what they're doing. Trust in them, and it'll be all good.
Yeah. And don't forget to thank me for Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, because if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be watching it, so you're welcome.
I think I have thanked you. I'll
I,
thank you
I take
again.
all the credit. It has nothing to do with their great show. It has everything to do with me. So,
And I do tell people when I mention that show, my co-host at PopCultX recommended the show to me, and you need to go watch it too. So I give you all the credit there.
okay, rightfully so. Thank you.
But speaking of Mrs. Maisel, they have a lot of, and I talked about this a little bit in our interview last week with our guest stunt actress performer Gelsey, is that their soundtrack and music is phenomenal.
Yeah,
And so that really got me thinking about, okay, we need to do an episode about music and songs that are iconic to movies. So almost like hear a song and automatically you think of that movie,
yeah.
or you get told about a movie, automatically you think of that song. And I have a list of a few that I went through, so we can go back and forth if you want.
Okay.
So go ahead, if you want, just go ahead and tell us some of yours or one of yours. We can go back and forth with
Yeah,
this.
right on. So when you sort of gave me the assignment of like, what are some iconic songs of film, past, present, whatever. One of the first things that came to my mind and was "Over the Rainbow" by Judy Garland and the Wizard of Oz.
Oh yeah,
Um,
definitely.
I mean, it's such a beautiful song. She obviously is like an icon. Like, I love her voice, and um, it just, I don't know, it just evokes such strong feelings in me, like remembrances of childhood, like the theme of Wizard of Oz of, like, there's no place like home, like family, uh, you know,
Hmm.
all of that, like, it's all wrapped up in that song, and it's the lyrics are really beautiful, the melody, like, everything about it is, like, perfect. Like, and then you have
Yeah,
the remake, the or sort of a remake of it by, I forget his name. I think it's Israel, who's like a
Israel,
I'm not even
brother
gonna try it.
is. Let's
Yeah,
call him that.
I'm not even gonna try that last name. Um, he did his version, and it's like it's such a sweet, like, feel good song. Like, it's almost
Hmm.
slightly sad
Hmm.
in a way. Like, I don't know where like the sadness comes from, but like hearing it, it's like it's, yeah, I guess maybe because it reminds me of my childhood, and it's like, okay, you're not a kid anymore. But there's like a melancholy to it, but it's so beautiful that it's so iconic. Like, you hear that song, you think of Wizard of
Yeah.
Oz, uh,
Hmm.
and it's a perfect song. It's so good, and it fit the movie perfectly, and the cast. I mean, it's amazing. So that was my first choice.
Completely agree. An excellent choice that is. My first choice of song, and it's not sung by, it's by a band. It's not sung by anyone in the cast, but it's "Eye of the Tiger" from Rocky.
Yeah.
So when you hear "Eye of the Tiger," you're automatically thinking of Rocky Balboa and his training, and also when you think of Rocky, the first thing that I think of is "Eye of the Tiger." And I was gonna sing part of it, but I didn't want to. We're on YouTube right now, so I don't want to embarrass myself even more than I already do. um, but that song is the perfect just motivator. It's a great workout song. It's a song to get you pumped, get you going, get you moving, get you ready for the fight,
Yeah.
and it's just, I think it's that song that fits that movie perfectly, so it's one of the iconic songs that I
Yeah,
chose.
like I agree, and I think that it speaks to like the power and the legacy of that song. Is that even if you were to play it like right now, like let's say you go to Balboa Park in San Diego and you had it blasting from a stereo, like people of all ages would like run up and like put their arms up and like do the Rocky pose.
Yes.
Like that's how ingrained it is in us
Uh-huh.
that like a young kid would know that, an old person would know that,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's not just the music, it's not just the song, but it's like the plot of the movie is like the feelings of the triumph over
The underdog, and
adversity,
yeah.
like all of that is packed into that song and those lyrics, and it's just like such a perfect marriage of like song and movie, and making like such a perfect pop culture moment that like its legacy has what, probably like what, 40 years. I mean it has to be like at least 40 years,
Yeah,
50,
something like
like
that. Like
yeah.
6 movies, and yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
great choice with that one.
definitely.
I've kind of going chronologically because that's how my brain, I guess, worked today. So the second one that I thought of was, it's sort of another melancholy song. So I don't know, maybe like my mood was kind of like that today, but
Huh, maybe that's the mood you're in right
yeah,
now.
Moon River by Audrey Hepburn from Breakfast at Tiffany's is like one of my all-time favorite songs.
Okay.
First of all, like I love you, like who doesn't love Audrey Hepburn? Like she's like the definition of
Right. No,
like
she's
class
yeah,
and
class
beauty
and
and grace,
elegance.
yeah,
Yeah.
every all of that. Um, Breakfast at
Mm-hmm.
Tiffany's is one of my favorite movies, like minus like the Asian stereotypes that are portrayed by Mickey Rooney, which is I almost wish they could just edit it out because it doesn't add anything to it. It's horrible. But the rest of it, I love Breakfast at Tiffany's, and that song again is just like it's a beautiful song. It's like semi sad and melancholy. It's like a love song.
Mm-hmm.
You feel sort of like that, the feeling of the character Holly Golightly like singing that song, and the like romance yet apprehension of like changing her lifestyle, her just all of that like built into that song, and whenever I hear it, it just makes me smile. Like it's just such a beautiful song.
I'll be honest with you. I've never seen Breakfast at
What?
Tiffany's, so yeah. So I've seen other Audrey Hepburn
Yeah.
films, but I've never seen that one. So whenever I hear the song Breakfast at Tiffany's, and it's not, well, for me, it's not the one thing we've got because I've never
Yeah.
seen it. So.
So the thing that I always liked about Breakfast at Tiffany's is that it's part of like a certain era, right? Like obviously it's like our parents,
Hmm.
maybe generation when they're young. And for me, I always
Yeah.
had this stereotype of like, people of that age like never really being cool. But I think that movie does a really good job of making me see people of that generation as like going through those same experiences that we have. And in the movie, Audrey
Hmm.
Hepburn portrays like pretty much like a party girl, like a Paris Hilton, like
Yeah.
who's
Yeah.
even maybe more relevant than that today, but like someone who's like kind of vapid, materialistic, like just a partier, and then she sort of her character
Hmm.
has to like transform when she falls in love, and but like there's like party scenes when you see like with jazz music, and you're like, oh yeah, like people of that generation were young and cool, and I almost want to say that it's like even cooler than
Hmm.
anything that's going on now, because jazz music was so like fresh and hip and like avant-garde and like never been done before, and like the fashion was really
Oh,
cool.
definitely,
I mean,
definitely.
it's just so
Yeah.
much of it is appealing to me watching it. So like, I definitely recommend it. Side note, like it is super racist. There's a part with Mickey Rooney who plays his um
I know
yeah,
about
like
that part.
that
Yeah.
that's like the sign of the times of like when it was made and like how like horrible. But the rest of the movie is like nearly perfect. It's really good. So I definitely like you have to watch it, and it's like a classic. You have to watch it.
Yeah, I think what you said about the whole jazz club scenes and
Mhm.
everything, how that's they seem to be even more cool than we are now. I think it goes back to like the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, set around the same time era, and how they go into different clubs and different like when she's in France and she visits that burlesque show, and that just seemed like it was so much fun and so
Right?
cool, and everyone's just so hip and cool with it, and it's just like, wow, Can't we just go back there?
Yeah, like, I mean, it's definitely like a
To a degree.
romanticized version of like that time period,
Hmm.
but I think for like
Yeah.
people of like our generation, when we think of our parents being young, like it's easy for us to forget that they were like young and like cutting edge
Hmm.
um and like when you
That's
see like
true.
Marvelous
That's
Mrs.
true.
Maisel, to your point, like cussing and like joking about sex and like all this stuff, and you're like,
Hmm.
wait, they're like they were like it, and it kind of like blows my mind when I think like, okay, I'm 40, I'm older now than like when my parents were when they had me, but like I looked at them as like so
Right.
old,
Right.
but like now I'm like it
Hmm.
just it's weird. Like it's still weird for me to like remind
It,
myself
it
that like I'm
it
yeah,
is.
and so I love that little glimpse into that time period of that era of Breakfast at Tiffany's and that music and that song. And I think it's
Hmm.
Henry Mancini that did that song, and it's just like a beautiful melody and song. What was next on
That's
your
a great
list?
choice. I'll have to go watch that. Next on my list, well, I have a few options I can go with. I'll start with okay. So the movie Top Gun. There's a couple songs from there that I think when you think of Top Gun that you can think of, but the one I chose was the Righteous Brothers. You've lost that love and feeling. Of course, it's the bar scene with Tom Cruise and ooh, what's his Goose? What's the co-star's name? I
Edward
just lost it.
something?
Yes, you're right. The guy
Yeah,
from ER. Anyways, they're singing "You've Lost That Love
yeah,
and Feeling" to the actress that plays Tom Cruise's co-star. And it's just so iconic because when I hear that song now, I think of that
yeah.
scene in the movie. So I mean, and when I think of Top Gun, that's where I first go to for the scene, and it's that song. So that's just one of my choices. I mean, it's not the probably not the most standout one, but it's just I like that scene, and it's just where
Yeah,
my mind
nice,
goes.
good choice. My next one is so I'm just now realizing that all three of my choices are kind of cliche. Like they're very like obviously gay choices. I went with Wizard of Oz, Judy Garland, Audrey Hepburn, and then lastly, Lady Marmalade by Christina Aguilera, Pink, Little Kim, Maya, Missy Elliott from Moulin Rouge.
Mhm.
One of the reasons why it was so fresh on my mind is that I just saw Christina Aguilera at the Hollywood Bowl on Saturday, and so I
Oh,
saw her
nice,
perform said
nice.
song, and so it very much is still like playing in my consciousness right now. Which, by the way, she did an amazing song. She looked freaking amazing.
Hmm.
Voice still amazing, probably like the voice of our generation. Um, I saw Ariana Grande in the audience, which was kind of cool that she went to support Christina Aguilera, which was kind of neat.
Oh, neat.
And then, so anyway, getting back to the song, um, it's just a really fun song to hear. I think it was the first time that like
Hmm.
a lot of mainstream pop like really took note of Christina Aguilera's vocals because she just kills it in that song. Like there's that moment where she like introduces herself into the song, and it's like this riff and like powerhouse vocals from like this tiny, little blonde girl. And I think that was everyone was like, wow, like she is going to be a person to be reckoned with. Like she's now a pop star. And I love all the other
Hmm.
like Missy Elliott's like a creative genius. Maya was really cool, and Pink is also like one of my favorite artists. So like all of them together with like
Yeah.
Little Kim was like visually, like sonically, everything was just like fun. The way they were all dressed like sex workers was like kind of like tongue in cheek and hilarious. And Moulin Rouge
Hmm.
is like an amazing movie. They're actually the musical is coming back to Broadway. I think in September they're reopening, and I'm really excited to
Oh,
like.
nice.
I wish I could go see it because I'm a fan of that as well. But just like a really fun song. Like whenever it comes on, I think like a lot of people like to sing along to it. It's fun. It's upbeat. It has the vocals. It has it just has a lot of fun. It's a fun song for me. And it's iconic from. I mean, it's old. I want to say that it's probably like what 20 years old maybe. So it's not even a recent song, but yeah,
Probably, yeah. I think you're
at
right. 20
least.
years old.
And
Yeah.
so I guess it reminds me
Yeah.
of like my young adulthood. And so yeah, so that was my last choice of an iconic song from a movie was Moulin Rouge.
Nice. Yeah, that's a great choice. I mean, when I hear that song, I think of the movie because, well, yeah, don't I don't know if I've never seen the complete Moulin Rouge movie. I've
Yeah.
always wanted to, but I've just seen bits and pieces. Now, do they perform that song in the
They
movie?
don't know. Yeah.
Okay, so it's
It
just
was
a
just a song to promote,
soundtrack
yeah,
to it. Okay.
which I've noticed that they haven't been doing a lot of recently, like, they don't really do you remember, like, you know, in our, prime or whatever, they used to always have, like, a theme song come out,
Our
our
prime.
youth, like, like, you think of, like, Celine Dion with the theme song from Titanic or Aerosmith from
Hmm.
whatever that movie was, the space movie. Armageddon. Like,
Armageddon.
I don't
Yeah.
like, have they I feel like they
Hmm.
don't really do that much anymore. Like, the only ones that I can think of is, like, Adele with, like, James Bond movie, and I think, Billie Eilish did a James Bond movie.
Well,
But,
yeah.
like, other than that, like, I mean, I guess the landscape of movies has changed so much, like, theater going has changed, where, like, it's not an event anymore like that. Like, I can't really think of the last time that there was a song that
Well,
came out to promote a movie that was, like, really big, like Titanic big, you know?
yeah, I know what you mean. I think I think you're right. I think now if movies are going to songs are going to be for movies are going to be
Yeah.
included within the movie. Like my last pick for right now was going to be "Shallow" from A
Mhm.
Star Is Born. Now that's a iconic song, Emmy Academy
Yeah,
Award winning song that is in the movie. So it's written within the whole landscape of the movie itself, but it's not just a song
yeah.
to promote the movie. So I think you're right. I don't recall the last time that has come out, but yeah, A Star Is Born, "Shallow." I
Lady
love that
Gaga
song.
and Bradley
I
Cooper.
love the lady. Yeah, I love seeing them perform it live, especially at the
Mhm.
Academy Awards, and it's just you can and that I think is that movie, the whole movie itself is what really made me a fan
Yeah.
of Lady Gaga because before then I there was the whole hoopla, the performance, everything surrounding her, but I really hadn't honed in on her vocals until that movie. And that movie just a Star Wars born in my eyes. Not to be cliche, but it really was. I mean, after that movie, I went back and I listened to almost all of her
Disc
discography. Is that the right?
discography?
Disc
Yeah.
discography. And I got to hear it, and I'm glad that I did because she is so phenomenal, she is so powerful, she's so wonderful. And then of course all the philanthropic
Yeah.
stuff that she does now, it just makes her even
Yeah.
better if possible. But yeah, that song right there is what really put me into the
Yeah.
Lady Gaga fandom.
Yeah, you just
So
needed to talk to the gays, and we could have told you that she was a genius a couple years ago, but saved you some time, but
hey, we got to find it out on ourselves
yeah,
sometimes, you know.
straight guys are always like 5 steps behind, but it's okay. I'm kinda mad that I didn't bring it up because, like I said, my list is, like, kind of gay centric, and so I'm kind of shocked and surprised that I didn't bring up Lady Gaga and that song because that's kind of right thematically fits within what I was, talking about, but it is a great song, and it is
Haha.
to my point earlier about, like, songs for movies, that is probably one of the most recent ones where I mean, that song was everywhere, I mean, it's such a great song that it cross
Hmm.
boundaries, like, they were playing it everywhere, and it
Yeah,
Academy
true.
Awards, movies, like, it just was such a good song, and I think they even recorded it while like, live, right? Like, while they were filming the movie, I wanna say, like, in concert,
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
and,
Hmm.
both really talented, like, acting-wise, singing-wise, and the fact that, like, I always kind of think it's hilarious is the fact that Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga performed it at the Oscars, and his girlfriend was so upset with, like, the emotion that they had together that she was like, "You can't tell me you're not cheating on me with her."
Right.
And I was like, "Well, they are acting, and they are performers, so,
Right.
like, get them modeled, like, what do you think that they're gonna do? Like, of course they're gonna connect in that way, it's just so funny, like
maybe maybe she was mad because she also saw them perform. I guess there was a night she was performing in Vegas and Bradley Cooper was in the audience, so she brought him on stage and they performed that song and they had that same
yeah.
sort of chemistry. So I don't
And
know.
on, like, another tangent or note, Lady Gaga just announced that she's gonna be performing, I think it's called, like, One Last Time with Tony Bennett for his, I wanna say, like, 95th birthday
Oh,
in New York,
nice.
and I'm like, I
Okay.
would give anything. Like, it always was like me and my dad's like, we have to see Tony Bennett. Like, this is really morbid, but before he passes away, because he's obviously like up there in age. And my dad is like a really big, like huge Tony Bennett fan. I have
Hmm.
been for like many, many years, like since I was a kid. Loved Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett together. Like, I think that was also another area where she really proved her talent when she started
Yeah.
singing like jazz standards with Tony. And obviously, it's probably going to be
Hmm.
super expensive, like and impossible to get. But like, I can't even imagine to be able to see them like literally one last time. It's like a once in a lifetime moment, and what I wouldn't give to be able to see that. Like, it almost makes me sad because like the saying like one last time, like it hints at the fact that like it might be his
Like a
like last
farewell.
performance, sort of
Yeah.
like Tina Turner when
Yeah.
she accepted her
Hmm.
award or and was like, I'm done, like I'm not performing anymore. And it's like you have to kind of focus on like how much joy that they've brought to our lives as fans and like as
Hmm.
people who
Hmm.
have listened to their music and their films and all of that. And but when it's an end of an era, like how it's just like how can you not be saddened by that, someone who is so culturally relevant that
Right.
like decades like has been able to bring artistry to us.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so yeah, so I thought that that was really cool, and I wish I could go.
So should I rub it in that Christina and I have seen Tony Bennett live?
Have you really?
Yeah, we saw him at San Diego Symphony Hall many, many moons ago.
Wow.
But it was his voice is just so legendary. And I
Yeah.
remember during the performance, he goes, "We're taking this acoustic." So he shut off all the microphones, all the instruments, and he belted out "Fly Me to the Moon." And it was just
Wow.
like pins and needles and chills. It was so
Yeah.
fantastic. And that's how we kind of chose our wedding song, was from that performance. So thank you, Tony Bennett.
Wow. That's amazing. Like I'm super jealous because like I said, that was on my bucket list, and sadly like it looks like I probably will never be able to see him live. But that's great. I'm so like that's awesome that you are able to have that and share that memory with Christina, and then you evolve into like your memory wedding, and then
Hmm.
for it to be like such a special moment for you. So that's really cool.
Yeah, it was, it was really nice. Really nice. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So I did hear the album that he did with with Lady Gaga, and those songs are fantastic. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and he's done. I mean, he's so relevant that like so many artists want to work with him. Like the work that he did with Amy Winehouse was amazing.
Hmm.
The
Oh
song that
yeah,
he
that's
did with
true.
Christina
Hmm.
Aguilera, like so many of the people that
Hmm.
like I love that are like of our, scene, I guess, if you will. But everyone recognizes him as being like such an amazing talent.
Yeah.
And so like he's up there with all of the greats for sure.
Yeah, for sure. There was a few other songs that I had, and I won't get into all of them, but just real quick. So I also thought about a little different way of looking at it. So what sort of like song scores really stood out
Hmm.
to me that you could hear and you knew exactly what movie it was, you know exactly what part in the movie came out. So I thought like the Imperial March from Star Wars is like iconic Darth Vader entrance music. So if
Yeah.
you hear that, your mind, at least my mind, I already see Darth Vader appearing and walking down, and you know exactly that something good is not going to happen for the for the good
Yeah.
guys. Same goes for like a lot of them actually were John Williams scores. So like Raiders of the Lost Ark theme. So we know Indiana Jones.
Mhm.
You hear that, you're picturing Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones. The Superman theme song, we when I hear that, I picture Christopher Reeve, you know, the original, well, not the original movie Superman, and
Yeah.
some say will argue is the best still. But a couple other ones that aren't John Williams, I think, but the theme song from Jaws, you hear that, you want to get out of the water because you know
Yeah.
there's going to be a shark coming at you. And the last
Yeah.
one was the theme song from Halloween, the
Yeah.
movie Halloween. So you hear that and you're looking around and looking in the shadows because that is such an iconic score and song for that movie.
Yeah, I tend to probably like I'm not like a super huge fan of like score music. Like
Hmm.
I wouldn't ever go to a symphony and how people like to listen to like the Star
Yeah.
Wars music or whatever. Um, but I do have to say that like some of the standout like scores for me would be everything that Danny Elfman does. I think is so unique and creative.
Very true. Very
Um,
true.
he's just like a genius of and like reinvented score music, and to
Mm-hmm.
pair it with like Tim Burton movies, who is
Mm-hmm.
like another genius and like who I love the visuals. So like marrying the sounds to those visuals is like perfect for me.
Yeah.
There was one other one that I thought of, and then it my train of thought like got off. It was Danny Elfman, and then um, God, I can't think of it now, but yeah, horror movies are definitely another one that like
Mm-hmm.
the sounds are just like The Exorcist. I think the theme song from The Exorcist like still gives
Oh
me chills.
yeah. Yeah.
And then all the music that they do for like the Avengers like also sticks out on my mind too. Like their theme song was like very standout, and like you hear it and it reminds you of the movies. And so
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I respect all of those films. But yeah, definitely Danny Elfman is like hands down probably
Yeah.
like my
Danny Elfman
favorite composer.
is awesome. Yeah, for like what Corpse Bride, Nightmare Before Christmas, even the Simpsons theme song. So hey,
Yeah.
he
Edward
composed all those.
Scissorhands.
Edwards, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice.
I think that goes hand in hand. You mentioned Tim Burton, that a lot of directors when they're choosing their music. So I think to like Quentin Tarantino, I think like Edgar Wright, I think like Wes Anderson is another one. They put, I don't want to say a lot of emphasis on it, but they treat their music selection as like another character in their movie. And I think that's really cool. And I really enjoy that. And I wasn't growing up, wasn't a huge fan of like soundtracks and stuff. But as
Yeah.
I come to appreciate film and I've come to appreciate cinema and director style, that the musical score and songs that they pick that they use to tell their story and move the story along, it's so fascinating, and it's such a great opportunity for us to see another dimension to the film. So kudos to all those
Yeah.
directors who can do that fabulously.
Yeah, I mean, and with Quentin Tarantino for me, or you mentioned Wes Anderson, people like that. I think that the reason why they appeal to me so much is that they're definitely like geeks. Like they understand the importance of like all of this, like pulling from all the different types of pop culture, like whether it be like fashion. So like definitely wardrobe is very important to them. They understand like the look of their movie and their characters, like the
Hmm.
language that their characters speak. They both have very distinctive styles of like what their movies look like, and specifically like how they sound. And the
Yeah.
soundtracks for like Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, Jackie
Hmm.
Brown, like all of
Hmm.
his movies like are so well thought out of like what the songs are going to be. Like Kill Bill,
Yeah.
the music that they use for that. One of the other films that like I really think of a soundtrack that like I love the soundtrack and I listen to it all the time is, well, I guess maybe not. Yeah, it's the soundtrack. The soundtrack to Trainspotting is probably like one of my favorite soundtracks of all
Okay.
time. Like
Okay.
it has such good like Iggy Pop, like Blondie,
Hmm.
Elastica, like it just like it goes from like all the different decades. And I am an Anglophile, like I love like the UK, and shout out to Scotland because that's where some of our listeners are out. So and
Moving it
and so
around.
like yeah, yeah. And I just love that. Like I can listen to the soundtrack to Trainspotting like all the time. Like the music from there is like so good. And
Yeah.
another one, Danny Boyle, that like really pays attention to like visuals, wardrobe, sound. Like I love and appreciate people like that are like like brethren of us, like that are like devour pop culture, like comic books,
Hmm.
music,
Hmm.
literature, art, like photography, like and then like sort of mush it all together and then create this like really cool project that has like it almost makes you watch it more than once because like it has so many different layers that like you can see things again the second time, like characters that like are only in it for like a little bit but like have such cool
Yeah.
witty lines.
Definitely.
And I like them. I say what you will about Quentin Tarantino and his personal life or his beliefs, or he's very controversial apparently, but
Hmm.
I do love his films, like Good, Bad, or Indifferent, I guess. And I love Danny Boyle films as well. So I don't know.
I
Those
think
are good examples.
they are good examples. I think another thing that stands out for me when directors, so when they choose their soundtracks, they can pick a song out of like almost like the obscure secondhand bin, and it fits so perfectly into the story that they're trying to tell. Like
Yeah.
take James Gunn and the Guardian of the Galaxy soundtracks. You know, some of those were popular in their day, but
Yeah.
maybe to our generation and to generations after us who might never had heard of, like, say, for example, Mr. Blue Sky from Guardian of the Galaxy 2, the opening sequence where Baby Groot
Yeah.
is dancing along to it. I would personally, I never heard that song before.
Yeah.
And for it to play such a big part in the movie, in the opening scene, and tell the story of, here's this baby tree guy who's just enjoying life, who cares what's going on around him. But the whole soundtrack is just so fabulous. But I think when directors can do that, they can take songs to the next level, and that's why I think soundtracks are so powerful to pop culture.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, good list. I definitely now I'm like motivated to go listen to some soundtracks and oh I remember the one that it all ties together, my horror movie comment and the soundtrack um is the soundtrack or the score to Bram Stoker's Dracula. One particular song is
Okay.
The Brides, and that's like one
Okay.
of my all-time favorite scores. Like it's so like sexy and like scary and like all of that wrapped into one. It's from the scene where Keanu Reeves' character is being seduced by like the three
Mhm.
brides of
I know the scene. Yeah.
Dracula, which like it's like not really scary because it's like 99.9% of all men's fantasies, even like a gay one, just because they were really hot. And it's like, oh please, yeah, stop, stop. But anyway, it's just such a good song. Like it's so
Hmm.
sensual, like scary. Like it has that like eeriness about it, but at the same time, like it's seductive. Like, it's such a good song. Like I listen to that song like randomly, like when it's not Halloween, because it's such a it's it's such a good song, and I'm such a weirdo.
Right on. Okay, I'm gonna end with this. I'm gonna ask you a question. So, and I'll tell you mine afterwards. What's your favorite? If you had to pick one, if we had a gun to your head, favorite movie soundtrack that you could listen to over and over again? Could be anything. Could be from a musical. Could be from an animated film. Could be from any movie, modern, classic, whatnot. If you had to
Like the
pick one, what would it be?
Yeah, like I have to say that I'm going back to like the soundtrack to Trainspotting. Like I literally played
Okay.
that CD like nonstop. Well, and funny to like bring it into like our relationship. Like I used to play that at Wells Fargo when I worked with Christina, your wife. Like I would because we had like the Muzak like for the bank, and I'm like, let me slip this in here into the
Yeah.
CD player to see if they even notice. And then they would like tell me, okay, you have to turn that off. But like I just love that CD, that album, like the music on there, like Lou Reed, Perfect Day is like one of my favorite songs. Like it's so good. Iggy
Yeah, I'm
Pop,
looking at
Lust
the
for
list now.
Life.
That is some good songs.
Um, it just a tough like beginning to end. I can listen to it like right now and like fall asleep to it. I can listen tomorrow on my way to work and it would like hype me up and I'd be ready for my day. Like it's such a good soundtrack. So yeah, that's my answer. What's yours?
Mine is the Crow soundtrack. The soundtrack to the movie The Crow, with Violet Femmes. You got The Cure. You got 9 Inch Nails doing cover songs. You got, I think, a cover song of Joy Division, and then you got it's just such a powerful, darker type of soundtrack. So, and it
Yeah,
fits the movie perfectly. The Crow, the famous Brandon Lee's last film, where
yeah.
tragically he was killed while making it. But it's just such a fabulous soundtrack, and I can listen to that all the time. Even the Stone Temple Pilots track on there is probably one of my favorite Pilots song of all time.
I have to check it out now
So
because
yeah,
I mean I know that I was a big fan of that movie. But like I can't necessarily think of the soundtrack right now. Like it's not popping into my head. So I have to go check that
oh
out.
goodness, you need to go look at that. My goodness,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, Rage Against the Machine is on there. Helmet, Pantera. Um, I said Violent Femmes,
Yeah.
Jesus and Mary Chain, and
I
then
love them.
it's just so awesome.
Yeah,
You
I
gotta
have to
you
check
gotta
that out.
listen to it tonight. Go check it out as soon as we're done
While
here.
while you
Go
were
listen to
talking, I
it.
was just like that's kind of surprising for Danny, and I'm like, but how awesome would it have been if like you had like turned just for a second and then come back with like your goth like crow makeup on?
One Halloween, I did go as the crow.
Did
I
you?
had the Brandon Lee face paint, yeah, and I think I was older then, so I think it was for high school. On Halloween we dressed up that one year,
Yeah,
friends and I. But I went as the crow, and it was so fun. Yeah, I didn't
nice.
have the long hair, but it was the makeup and just that movie itself is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah,
So
I feel like if you had like five people of our generation, like three out of those five guys have dressed up as the crow, like from our generation, like when that came out, like that was probably like one of the most popular costumes. Like the long, like the
yep.
hair was really popular. Like I had that hairstyle, the makeup. I mean, it was so cool. Like it was like super iconic. Like I love that. That movie is so good. Uh, yeah, that's awesome. Great choice.
Yeah, thanks. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in to our very first, video. Is it a video podcast, or I don't know what you call it, but our
I'm so
video
old. I
stream
don't even
of.
know.
Yeah, I know. So thanks for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe. We'll have this out on our normal podcast channels for everyone to hear in its entirety. So we expect you to share it. We expect you to listen to it, and you get to watch us. How about that? So take care,
Awesome.
everyone.
Be safe.